This is workshop number 1, video number 1, and we are going to be talking about procrastination. So in the training, you remember I asked you if there was one thing that you could achieve in life, what would it be? I hope you're still thinking about whatever that would be. It's great if you write it down and post it above your desk or on your bathroom mirror, somewhere where you see it every day for inspiration. But as I explained in the workshop, the main reason why people do not achieve their goals or fulfill their dreams is because of procrastination. And in all my workshops, I like to do a little bit of theory and a lot of practical, because when you understand why you behave in certain ways, you're a lot more forgiving. I used to think that I was just lazy and disorganized and someone who didn't have much self-control. And then I learned about the amazing concept of the primitive brain. And for those of you who weren't in the training or maybe it didn't make much sense to you, we have parts of our brain, and I don't know, neuroscience and all of that. I just know that there's part of our brain that controls the automatic functions in our life, like driving the car or brushing your teeth, the things that you don't think about. And that's what makes us more efficient, because you need to be able to put certain tasks on autopilot. But that part of the brain is also the primitive part. The reason it's called the primitive brain is it controls those primitive functions. It makes us seek pleasure, avoid pain, and become energy efficient. And that is what is known as the motivational triad. And for thousands and thousands of years, that's what kept us safe and kept us evolving, because we had to leave our caves to go and find food, which was the seeking pleasure part. And then we had to get quickly back to the cave to avoid being eaten by something, which was the avoiding pain part. And then we just kind of chill in the cave so that we didn't use up the energy stored in our food too quickly. It was also the urge to be energy efficient that creates all those modern devices that we have. Seeking pleasure is all the things that we enjoy in life, movies, anything that makes life fun is motivated by the primitive brain's desire to seek pleasure. But then in the modern world, this works against us, because most of us, we don't have true danger in our lives. And so the pain avoiding part of our primitive brain and the motivational triad helps us avoid uncomfortable situations. So if you don't like cold calling, that's an uncomfortable situation. And so your primitive brain is going to pretend that it's a dangerous situation, and it's going to procrastinate to keep you safe from the discomfort of cold calling. If you have an angry customer that you don't want to talk to, or maybe you have a poorly performing employee that you don't want to have a performance evaluation with, it's your primitive brain that's going to avoid you feeling the discomfort of dealing with that issue. So that is why we procrastinate when it's in an uncomfortable situation. And then other times we just don't feel like doing it, particularly if it's something like working out or calling someone, or working out's the best example of things that we don't like to do because it just takes too much energy. Maybe you want to just sit and write emails rather than getting out there and hustling and calling on customers. That is the energy efficient part of our brain. We're always going to choose to sleep late or sit and watch Netflix rather than getting out there and working out or doing something that expends energy. And then obviously pleasure seeking, that kind of ties into Netflix as well, and sleeping late. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure. And so when you understand that, it's much easier to understand why we need a plan. And this is what this whole section of the training comes down to. If you're someone who likes to be spontaneous, if you feel you create a plan, it's going to stop you reacting in the moment. It's going to limit your spontaneity. I will tell you, because of the primitive brain, if you wait until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning to decide what you're going to do, then you are always going to choose the easiest, most comfortable, or most pleasurable task to do. That's why if you have a to-do list, normally the difficult things stay on the to-do list and you get through lots of simple or easy things, because your brain is always going to choose the easy task. So you also heard me talk in the training about the prefrontal cortex. Well, the prefrontal cortex is like the evolved brain. It's the part of our brain that controls planning. It controls good decisions. We tend to think about it as our conscience. When you should be working out, or you should be getting up early, or you should be calling that customer or disciplining that employee. That is, you think it's your conscience, but it's actually your prefrontal cortex telling you what you know you need to get done to move you forward and get you closer to your goals. And when you create a plan in advance, even if you make it the night before for the next day or first thing in the morning when you get to work, you are still making that plan in advance. And so you're allowing your prefrontal cortex to decide what you need to do to move forward and achieve your goals. So that is the most important reason. The reason you make a plan is because you make logical decisions. You're not choosing the easy task or the pleasurable task. Which brings me to my next point about procrastination. When you think about procrastination, you imagine someone sitting playing on their phone, or maybe taking a long lunch break because they just don't feel like coming back to work. That is the most obvious form of procrastination. But the most common one that I see with the people that I train is you stay doing what is comfortable. So for example, if you were once a technician and you've been promoted to a manager, your comfort zone is out there in the field fixing things. So instead of planning time to look at reports and make management decisions and plan for the future, your comfort zone is getting out there and fixing things. So when you first become a manager, your form of procrastination is very subtle. It's out there helping the guys. It's responding to every call that you get to fix things or to tell people how to fix things, because that's where you're comfortable. And that is a form of procrastination, because once you become a manager, you need to shift your focus to team building, to analyzing reports, to identifying areas of improvement. It's the same if you were the #1 sales guy and you get promoted to becoming a manager because you are really good at selling. Well, when you manage a team, your tendency is still to be out there selling, out there hustling, but actually you need to focus most of your attention on training your team members, on following up with your team members, and pushing all your skills and all the things that you know down towards your team members so they can learn from you. So whatever your job is, you have to look at the things that you're most comfortable with, because you will use those as a form of procrastination. They always say that if you want to make the biggest difference in your life and get the best results, you have to do the thing that challenges you most, the thing that you are dreading the most. Perfect example for that is I used to sell Mary Kay, and Mary Kay is just the best example of doing things that you really don't want to do. And I knew that I had to make lots and lots of calls, and I'm not someone who enjoys being on the phone. I certainly don't enjoy kind of the sales calls. And so as soon as I started getting over that fear and doing the thing that scared me the most and challenged me the most, which was calling people, I made a ton of money. So whatever you're putting off doing, that is the thing that you need to do the most. It's going to create the most change in your life. And the thing that you are most comfortable with, just watch for that being a way of procrastinating by doing the thing that you're most comfortable with. So that is a summary of procrastination. You procrastinate because you have this primitive part of your brain that allows you to seek pleasure, become energy efficient, and avoid pain. And that's called the motivational triad. And in our modern world, it prevents you from getting out there hustling and doing the things that you find uncomfortable, because you're always going to choose the most comfortable or pleasurable option. So get out there, make a plan, because when you make a plan, you're utilizing the prefrontal cortex to get the things done that you know are going to get you closer to your goal. So good luck.